Twin case you missed it, Travis Adams is going to the show. Congratulations, Travis Adams. You're seeing him pitch for the St. Paul Saints. This was an inning in which he struck out the side in order a little bit earlier this year. But Travis Adams, a pitcher's pitcher, I guess is how I would explain him. Or, I think we overuse the crafty lefty description. I think he's a crafty righty. If you're thinking about a guy kind of in Twins terms, I would say just on a really basic level, I might compare him to Cole Sands. And I could see him potentially having a similar career trajectory as Cole Sands. He's all smiles coming out after that inning, though, Travis Adams. So, Twin case, you missed it. This was announced yesterday. I think it was Adams's agent or him broke the news kind of on Instagram. And then Theo Tollefson was the first one to actually get confirmation from a source with the Twins/Saints. He reports from CHS Field on a regular basis. So if you want kind of your big news items, he's your go-to guy there. But the unique thing about Travis Adams is that he's been developed as a starting pitching prospect up until this point. And then I think it was kind of a twofold thing that happened this year was that, one, I do think he's pretty well suited to approach in a long reliever, multi-inning reliever as it is without anything else. But to be completely honest, he was also kind of the guy on the outside looking in of the Saints rotation. And with Travis Adams being added to the 40-man roster this offseason to be protected from the Rule 5 draft, there's also more of a factor to figure out, okay, what would this guy look like in the big leagues? And going back to that Cole Sands comp, Sands was developed as a starter throughout his entire minor league career until he made it to the major leagues. And then he kind of had to figure out how to be a reliever and a major leaguer at the same time. So I'm curious if maybe this kind of shift for Travis Adams into a multi-inning reliever in the minor leagues might help his major league career more. Now that he's kind of done this, he knows what it's like to come out of the bullpen. He knows what it's like to come in the middle of an inning. So this is an interesting factor of him. Here is his full minor league stats. He was a guy they drafted in the 6th round back in 2021 out of Sacramento State. He's 25 years old now. This was the same draft where they took Chase Petty in the 1st round. Cade Povich was in that draft. David Festa was in that draft. As you see here for the Saints, he's got a 3.43 ERA, a 1.14 whip, and 37 strikeouts in 42 innings. This is his first really big, significant sample at AAA. He did debut with the Saints last year. As you see, got quite a few strikeouts his first pro full season in 2022, 9.7 Ks per nine. Then moving up to Wichita, really struggled. 5.66 ERA, almost a 1.5 whip. So he has really been more aggressive these past 2 years since really, I think he just didn't trust his stuff in Wichita that first time around, and it really stung him. But he learned a lesson. Travis Adams, his pitch mix, you see here, a very balanced mix, but it's 3 different fastballs, essentially. He throws a 4-seam fastball about a quarter of the time, a cutter about 20% of the time, and a sinker about 18% of the time. So it's primarily 4-seamers, cutters, and sinkers, but his slider also he throws about a quarter of the time as well. Mixes in a changeup, and then rarely these days is throwing his curveball. He is topped out at 96 miles per hour this year. You don't see him up there very often, though, to be completely honest. He's probably more kind of 93, 94 with his fastball, but again, mixes things up quite a bit. Here's a look at the kind of velo chart of all his pitches. You can get kind of a visualization of how things look. The 4-seam fastball and the sinker are pretty close in velo, and then the cutter's a bit behind that. And then that's pretty similar to his changeup velo. And then a few ticks down from there, about mid-80s is what his slider is. So, and then again, the curveball, a slower curveball that he rarely throws. But I think an interesting thing to point out with Adams, too, in that it's not just that all of his pitches he uses a pretty big balance. It's even in that top circle there, on the first pitch of an at-bat, he is very balanced. So it's not even like, oh, he's going to start a lot of guys out with his 4-seam fastball or something. He'll start you out with whatever. Then, depending on whether he gets ahead or behind, it kind of goes from there. When he's ahead, you're going to see a lot more sliders. When he's behind, you're going to see a lot more cutters. That kind of sums up Travis Adams fairly well, too, because he's more of a some of his all parts, more of a command guy than a guy who has like one knockout pitch he's really going to dominate with. I think that makes him that helps make him intriguing as this multi-inning reliever too. Because if he if he had a good fastball and his slider was like clearly his best secondary pitch, maybe you would look at him and be like, all right, what would it look like if we had him as a one-inning reliever? And kind of be curious at if that velo could jump, if that slider could get nastier. But again, this guy he's a pitcher's pitcher. He's a good command guy. He's going to mix it up. I think he's understanding too how to work with those three different fastballs and how to attack certain hitters and where. We're looking back through his career, going back to his Cedar Rapids days here. So you didn't always have the flow. But I will say, he has always had the tall socks, and there's something with his look and his delivery that just kind of is old school to me, and I've always kind of appreciated about Travis Adams. Seems like kind of a no-nonsense kind of guy that's just out there to work, never gets too up or too down. It's been really rewarding to see a guy get punched in the face, in that second year. I talk about it a ton, how Double-A is such a proving ground. You don't see that many guys come back from that, to be completely honest, to struggle to that degree in Double-A. And to their credit, the Twins have also stuck with this guy. There has not been a corresponding move announced at the time of this recording. It kind of feels probable that Cody Funderburk's going to get sent down. And then to be completely honest, this might be a short run for Adams because Danny Coulomb is expected to pitch a rehab game with the Saints tonight. So it could be a thing where Adams is just up here to provide some length. And then he might switch spots with Coulomb in a few days. But we'll see. Anytime you get up and you get to make your Major League debut, though, it's a big deal. So hopefully Travis Adams shows himself well and pitches well. And I think even if it's like a one outing sample here, we'll see him again this year more than likely. Thanks for checking this out. We'll talk again soon.